This evening, first up, early voting. Members of Ghana's discipline service cast their ballots ahead of Election Day. How today's turnout sets a tone for September 1st. Plus, no favors. U.S. sanctioned presidential candidate Azruddin Mohamed breaks his silence. What he's now saying about his ties to President Ali. Also, fighting narco-terror. The Ghana government reaffirms its pledge to dismantle transnational criminal networks threatening peace across the hemisphere. Meanwhile, toll-free but not fair. Berbice commuters demand relief as hire car drivers keep fares high despite bridge tolls being scrapped. And deadly unrest in Colombia. 2 rebel attacks leaves at least 18 people dead. All this and more coming up on Headline News Update. Stay with us. Welcome to this broadcast of Channel 2's Headline News Update for August 22nd, 2025. I am Berbice. Thank you for joining us. First up, members of the Ghana Police Force, Ghana Defense Force, and the Ghana Prison Service turned out in their numbers today to cast their ballots as the discipline services voted ahead of the September 1st, 2025 general and regional elections. Polling began at 6 a.m. at several key locations across the country, with senior officials of the security forces among the first to exercise their franchise. At the police officers, Ms. Annex Leary, Commissioner of Police Clifton Hicken, along with Deputy Commissioners Wendell Blanham and Ravindra Budram, cast their votes early this morning. Hicken described the process as smooth and encouraged ranks to turn out and participate in this important democratic exercise.
I think I've exercised my democratic right this morning, and it's my right to vote, and I've done just that. The process in terms of GCOM, I think based on what I want to observe just now, they're on time, and everything is going smooth. I'm going to spend the entire day visiting stations and all the areas where they'll be voting to ensure that everything is going smooth.
Over at Campaign Ghana, Chief of Staff of the Ghana Defense Force, Brigadier Umar Khan, also voted and engaged with members of the media, underscoring the significance of the discipline services role in safeguarding the electoral process while also exercising their individual right to vote.
We have our joint services, members of the joint services are voting today, and I would have exercised that voting, leading of that voting, first in base camp in Ghana. There are approximately 24 voting places around the country where our ranks are deployed and are voting. My experience just now was a very organized and smooth one, and I want to thank all those who were responsible for ensuring that this was done successfully, at least when I wasn't here. I do not anticipate any issue because all soldiers are expressing and exercising their democratic right to participate in this beautiful and important process.
Director of Prisons Nicolon Elliott similarly cast his ballot at the Georgetown Prisons Administrative Building, joining the thousands of service members participating in the early polls.
The voting process was very simple. I want to commend the staff of GCOM. They were very much professional in terms of explaining the process to me. In fact, I left my ID card in the office, and so I did not want to return to get it, but notwithstanding that, the entire process was very simple. I want to commend the GCOM staff for their level of professionalism thus far. All prison officers will be given the opportunity to cast their vote. They have a choice, and whatever that choice is, I respect that choice. Of course, it is free and voluntary, and it is their constitutional right to do that exercise.
The Ghana Elections Commission, GCOM, confirmed that 10,481 members of the 3 discipline services are eligible to vote today. Public Relations Officer of GCOM, Yolanda Ward, gave a briefing on the voting process by members of the discipline forces.
Today, 10,481 ranks across the respective discipline forces will be voting across the country in all 10 districts. We have the Guyana Police Force with 6,909 ranks expected to vote the Guyana Defense Force with 3,106, and the Guyana Prison Service with 466 members voting today. Now, I want to clarify that these officers are afforded the opportunity to vote in the district where they are assigned to work and not in the district where they are registered to vote. So when the ballots arrive in country, we've gone through a process of extraction and sorting those 10,481 ballots in the presence of political party agents. We've gone through a process of enveloping those ballots using two envelopes, one with the name and ID number of the elector on the outside, and the inner envelope containing that ballot with just the region where that officer is assigned or registered on the official list of electors. Upon the close of poll today, when those ballots are returned, those ballots will be sorted by the respective district, and they will be placed in secure custody according to district. We have gazetted the list of polling stations where those ballots will be intermixed on election day, which is the 1st of September. So those ballots will be counted in the respective districts where the officers are registered to vote.
The CEO of GCOM, Enil Giddings, was on the ground briefing the media about the process, noting that voting for the disciplined forces is being carried out under strict procedures to ensure transparency and credibility.
Everything is smooth up to this point. We had some issues with some agents, but I think we've been resolving them as we go along. I don't have any major issue that hampered the opening of polls at all the locations across the spectrum. We have those aircraft movements that should be well underway from Ogle going to Region 8, Region 9, and so on. So I think for now I haven't received any untoward information that has been affecting polls.
Reports from Regions 6 and 10 indicate that disciplined service members in New Amsterdam and Mackenzie also turned out early to cast their ballots, with polling stations operating efficiently. Voting by the disciplined service is a long-standing practice that allows security forces to fulfill their duties on the official elections day while ensuring their constitutional right to participate in the democratic process. The ballot cast today will be secured and counted on September 1st, together with the rest of the electorate's votes under the supervision of GCOM. 6 political parties are contesting the upcoming general and regional elections: a Partnership for National Unity, Alliance for Change, Assembly for Liberty and Prosperity, Forward Guyana Movement, the People's Progressive Party Civic, and We Invest in Nationhood. However, only 4 of the 6, APNU, AFC, PPPC, and WIN, have submitted candidate lists for all 10 electoral districts in the regional elections. President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali, along with the leaders and members of the other political parties, visited the various polling stations this morning, where they observed the process and spoke briefly with the media, expressing confidence in the preparations made by GCOM for the disciplined services voting on D-Day. With the disciplined services leading the way, attention now shifts to the wider population, who will head to the polls on Monday, September 1st, in what is expected to be one of the most closely watched elections in recent years. In a stunning revelation, United States sanctioned businessman and WIN presidential candidate Azruddin Mohamed has clarified that despite all the past allegations, President Dr. Mohamed Irfaan Ali has never done him any favors. Speaking to reporters while observing polling day activities, Mohamed acknowledged that his family once shared a close personal relationship with Ali as a Muslim brother to a Muslim brother, but stressed that's all. Irfaan Ali never granted him any favors.
We had a close relationship, of course, with Irfaan Ali as a Muslim brother to a Muslim brother. But that's all. Irfaan Ali never granted me no favor. We're in business years now. We have built on hard work and on no government influence. We assisted the PPP and we assisted the APN.
The statement comes amid ongoing legal proceedings against Mohamed, who faces charges of tax evasion and submitting false documentation to the Guyana Revenue Authority related to the purchase of a Lamborghini. Mohamed allegedly declared the luxury vehicle's price as $75,300 instead of the actual $695,000, resulting in an estimated tax evasion of over $383 million Guyana dollars. He was placed on $500,000 bail and has pleaded not guilty to both charges. The charges follow evidence provided by the U.S. Department of Justice, including the original invoice for the Lamborghini and wire transfer records corroborating the purchase. Earlier, Mohamed attempted to implicate President Irfan Ali by releasing text messages between the two, suggesting interference in his tax matters. President Ali had at the time refuted the claims, noting that Mohamed never disclosed the vehicle's actual cost to him or the GRA, which has now been confirmed through official documentation. Mohamed, already facing U.S. sanctions over allegations of gold smuggling and tax evasion, continues to confront legal scrutiny as the matter progresses in courts. Nevertheless, he noted that his team is working to have the sanctions removed.
The team in the United States of America, they're working very hard. Just yesterday, I talked to them, and something good will pull off very soon.
Stick around when we return. Guyana reaffirms commitment to regional security, vows to tackle criminal networks, and commuters protest as higher car fares remain high despite removal of Berbice bridge tolls.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment you've been waiting for. Step right up because it's time for Digicell's $12 million punch and win. Top up with just $1,000 or more for a shot at winning up to $2 million weekly. That's right, up to $2 million weekly. 6 weeks, $2 million per week. Will you be one of our lucky winners? There's only one way to find out. Top up, punch, and win. Only with Digicell. Digicell, better connected.
Hi, Miss Shirley. Miss Shirley, help me out now, please. Why everyone telling me I must exercise my right to vote? Me ain't got time for that. Why must I vote?
Why must you vote? That is your constitutional right and civic duty, my child. Besides, think about this. Government officials make decisions that affect the well-being of you, your family, and community. By voting for a party of your choice, you will be electing the people who will be making these very important decisions. If you don't vote, then you will allow the people who vote to choose government officials without your input. Those others may not share your views about issues that matter to you.
Wait. Is so much voting means to me? And I the playing the fool? I definitely gonna vote on election day.
For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-027729 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Our smiles make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Middle Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Good girl, forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fractured my hip.
If you need some quick money,
you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lender's, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Welcome back. The Guyana Elections Commission, GECOM, is seeking assurance from the Guyana Power and Light Company to prevent power outages during the critical tabulation of votes on September 1st election day. Chief Elections Officer Vishnu Prasad made a disclosure on Wednesday during an orientation exercise for international and local observers. He explained that GECOM has introduced a new electronic tabulation system where each statement of poll will be publicly displayed on a large screen before being entered into district and sub-district forms. Agents will be able to challenge entries before results are finalized. While lamps will be sufficient for polling stations, Prasad said the tabulation process requires a stable electricity supply. To safeguard against disruptions, GECOM has requested guarantees from GPL and will deploy 2 standby generators at each tabulation center. The Commission also reminded observers and the public of legal provisions under the Representation of the People's Act, which prohibit interference, annoyance, or obstruction of voters within 200 yards of the polling stations. Offenders face fines of $65,000 and up or 1 year in prison. Moving on, commuters in Region 6 are voicing strong frustration after discovering that, despite the government's removal of tolls from the Berbice River Bridge and other major crossings earlier this month, higher car fares remain unchanged, in some cases even higher. What was intended as a measure to ease travel costs has instead sparked outrage, with passengers accusing drivers of being unfair and calling on the authorities to intervene. Commuters in Region 6 say they are frustrated that hire car drivers have not lowered fares despite the removal of tolls on the Berbice River Bridge. The toll-free policy implemented on August 1st was expected to ease transportation costs for thousands traveling between New Amsterdam and Georgetown. However, passengers report that fares have instead increased to as much as $3,000 per seat, up from $2,000 earlier this year. Vendors, educators, and other commuters have condemned the driver's refusal to reduce costs, calling the practice selfish and unfair, especially since operators are now saving on toll expenses. Many argue that the government must step in to ensure the public benefits from the toll removal. Vice President Dr. Barry Jagdeo has since indicated that discussions with hire car drivers will be held to address the issue. The standoff over fares highlights the gap between government policy and public benefit, leaving commuters caught in the middle. With the mounting call for fairness and relief, all eyes are now on the pending talks between the administration and the hire vehicle operators to determine whether passengers will finally see the savings they were promised. In other news, the government of Guyana has reaffirmed its commitment to regional security, pledging continued support to dismantle transnational criminal networks and narco-terrorism operations that threaten peace and stability across the hemisphere. In a statement issued earlier today, the administration expressed deep concern over the growing influence of organizations such as the Venezuela's Cartel de los Soles, which has been designated a terror group by some countries in the region. Authorities warned that such networks undermine democracy, weaken state institutions, erode the rule of law, and endanger human dignity and development. Reiterating President Dr. Mohamed Irfan's stance, Guyana emphasized the need for a unified and collaborative response at the national, regional, hemispheric, and global levels to combat organized crime effectively. Guyana is committed to working with bilateral partners to find meaningful solutions and will support regional and global initiatives aimed at dismantling criminal networks, the statement noted, underscoring the government's role in promoting a zone of peace across the Caribbean and Latin America. The announcement comes as ranks of the Guyana Defense Force continue participation in Exercise Trade Winds 2025, a multinational security training program that enhances regional preparedness against transnational threats. Don't go away after the break. Russia's annual tourism more than 3 million foreign visitors recorded. And Pakistan flood aftermath. Destruction highlights impact of climate change.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's the moment you've been waiting for. Step right up because it's time for Digicel's $12 million punch and win. Top up with just $1,000 or more for a shot at winning up to $2 million weekly. That's right, up to $2 million weekly. 6 weeks, $2 million per week. Will you be one of our lucky winners? There's only one way to find out. Top up, punch, and win. Only with Digicel. Digicel, better connected.
Good girl forget things.
What's the problem, Granny? I want money for borrow for those surgery. I was dancing and I fall and fracture my hip.
If you need some quick money, you should check Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop, Lot 238 South Road Border, Georgetown. Get jewelry made to order in just 72 hours. We also accept vehicles. Lenders, best rates, longest payback period.
Boys, I get through. Plus, I could dance again.
Lender's Jewelry and Pawn Shop.
Sneakily with a gift of sight from Modern Optical Services. Let our professional team examine and prescribe what's best for your eyes. Carpet smalls make fashionable faces. See us for a full line of optical services, including brand name and prescription eyewear. Modern Optical Services, 316 Mill Street, Georgetown. Telephone 226-1082.
Miss Shirley? Miss Shirley, help me out now, please. Why everyone telling me I must exercise my right to vote? Me ain't got time for that. Why must I vote, eh?
Why must you vote? That is your constitutional right and civic duty, my child. Besides, think about this. Government officials make decisions that affect the well-being of you, your family, and community. By voting for a party of your choice, you will be electing the people who will be making these very important decisions. If you don't vote, then you will allow the people who vote to choose government officials without your input. Those others may not share your views about issues that matter to you.
Wait. Is so much voting means to me? And I done playing the fool? I definitely gonna vote on election day.
For more information, contact the GCOM on 225-027729 or visit www.gcom.org.gy.
Welcome back. Now we take a look at what's happening in the region and around the world.
Good evening, I am Nikita Ford. Welcome to our regional international news segment, which keeps you informed and up to date with a trending news story worldwide. The CARICOM Private Sector Organization warns that the U.S. tariff increase on Trinidad and Tobago, export from 10% to 15%, could cause annual losses of nearly $292 million. Base metal and chemical face the biggest hit, threatening critical industries. CPSO urges urgent regional actions to protect trade. Meanwhile, in South America, Colombia's president is accusing rebels group of carrying out 2 separate attacks that have killed 18 people. Al Jazeera Raleigh Carson has the details.
A twisted metal frame marks the spot where a car bomb exploded in Cali, Colombia's 3rd largest city. It was detonated outside a military aviation facility.
We were walking home and suddenly there was a loud explosion. The shockwave knocked us all to the ground.
I was inside when the explosion was heard. We were all thrown to the floor and we managed to get out as best as we could.
Officials are now on high alert.
Given the delicate situation our city is currently facing, I have ordered the militarization of Cali. In addition, we have reinforced the police presence at the city's entrances and exits. All the city's security agencies are deployed to protect the lives of Cali's residents.
It was the first of 2 attacks on Thursday. The second brought down a police helicopter the country's president says was on a mission to destroy coca leaf crops, the plant used for making cocaine. Gustavo Petro has called it terrorism, blaming factions of the former FARC guerrilla group and cartels for the deaths. They've been increasing attacks ahead of next year's presidential election. Riley Carlson, Al Jazeera.
Internationally, the number of tourists visiting Russia has increased dramatically. Al Jazeera Osama bin Javid reports.
Tourists still flock to Moscow's Red Square, but only a few of them are from Western countries. More and more overseas visitors are returning to Russia, and officials here say the average spend has increased as they attract more affluent visitors. After 3.5 years of war, many people from rich Gulf states are exploring Russia. They frequent the restaurants and are seen as a lifeline to many high-end shopping malls.
It's my first time here. It's a safe and beautiful city. I'll recommend it to people back home to visit, and I will definitely come back.
But the almost 500,000 Chinese tourists provide the highest boost to tourism in Russia. The numbers have grown rapidly, and many bring their own tourist guides, prompting some Russian operators to complain about unfair competition. Recent Ukrainian drone strikes in and around Moscow have not deterred them.
Of course, we heard some news in our country that a lot of people are afraid of to come here. But when we come here, and this is our second day to be this country, I don't think everything is great.
Even Mexico, that is where I am from, you hear about narcs and these kind of situations. So I think you need just to be in the correct places, and that's it.
The language gap is addressed by hiring more English-speaking staff and even language training for tourism police. Moscow's city government believes the number of people will continue to rise.
We have received almost 3 million international tourists, and 30% of them are coming from the Middle East. And of course, we do have some challenges related to payments, for example. But it looks like now that it's not a primary issue. People find the ways how to get around. People come with their cash.
Credit cards do not work because of sanctions on Russia, which were meant to isolate it. The government strategy has been to relax visa rules for tourists from friendly countries. Many international carriers have stopped flights, and that gap has been filled by Chinese and Gulf airlines. Saudi Arabia among the latest to begin direct flights to Russia. For the tens of thousands of people coming to the Russian capital, it is difficult to imagine that there is a war raging just a few hundred kilometers away, which has claimed hundreds of thousands of lives. For them, the description of what they've been seeing in the media for Russia is quite different to the experience they have here.
The world actually right now has a very pessimistic view about Russia, and once they would visit here, they would really realize that the reality is way different than the propaganda being spread out there.
The policy to isolate Russia meant more Russians traveled domestically, and lower flight and room rates compared to European destinations have attracted more international tourists. In 2022, Russia's invasion of Ukraine meant almost everyone stopped coming from overseas. But now both foreign and domestic visitor numbers to Moscow continue to grow. Osama bin Javid, Al Jazeera, Moscow.
Finally, Pakistan is once again facing devastating flood, raising urgent questions about the country's climate preparedness. Al Jazeera Kamala Haider reports.
From the mountainous regions in the north to the Indus Delta, Pakistan has a fragile ecosystem. In 2022, Pakistan got a reality check with an unprecedented flood that inundated 1/3 of the country's landmass, affecting over 33 million people and causing an economic loss of over $30 billion.
I've seen many humanitarian disasters in the world, but I have never seen climate carnage on this scale.
The recent monsoon season has claimed hundreds of lives, with intense rainfall and more frequent cloud bursts. Pakistan got its wake-up call in 2022, when devastating floods killed more than 1,700 people. But it's not clear. Lessons have been learned. Officials here will tell you the situation is under control. But when you ask the people, they will tell you otherwise. Pakistan continues to allocate the bulk of its limited resources to defense, citing external threats to sovereignty. This leaves little for development, welfare and safeguarding its growing population from existential challenges.
I think we don't even have enough money to spend on military if you compare us with our region. The point is that Pakistan faces these catastrophic disasters on its own. Even after 2020, most of the money that came to Pakistan was in shape of loans. There was no international funding that was given to Pakistan.
Pakistan's own footprint in the greenhouse gas emissions is less than 1%, but it's the 7th most vulnerable country.
The World Bank has said that Pakistan needs about $340 billion plus for adaptation, but there is no international financing available for the global south to face climate change.
Critics and environmentalists accuse the government of tall promises, yet remain hopeful that the floods have raised public awareness about climate change and its consequences.
Before the 2010 floods, climate change was barely understood and seen as divine punishment. Today, awareness has grown and children discuss global warming, tree planting is promoted, and despite government neglect, there is hope this challenge can be overcome.
3 years on, Pakistan finds itself at the same crossroads, but will need tens of billions of dollars to build climate-resilient infrastructure and formulate sustained policies to avert future loss to mitigate the effects of global warming and climate change. Kamal Haider, Al Jazeera, Swat, Pakistan.
Thanks, Nikita. This brings us to the end of our regional and global news coverage. Up next is the 3-event forecast. And that's Safety B2 Headline News for this Friday evening. As we take our leave, we invite you to follow us on Facebook and YouTube. We will be off for the weekend, but you can tune in on Monday at 7 p.m. for more news. Until then, please take care of yourselves and each other and do have a wonderful weekend.